There's something you should know that we really haven't talked about yet. There's this tension at the heart of crypto, a tension that also seems to be sweeping the world at the moment. The tension between moderates and revolutionaries. Crypto moderates want to open up the financial system to some people, and they want to integrate it into our current financial system. Crypto revolutionaries want to open up the financial system to everyone, and they think overthrowing what we have is the only way to do it. We're caught in the middle. We're a Web3 show, and we're trying to live up to those Web3 ideals, to build something that's never existed before, a community-owned and operated show. But we don't want ourselves or any of our community members thrown in jail. And honestly, it's all a big experiment still. You can join our mini revolution too. Just stick around till the end of the show. But in the meantime, let's examine the bigger question. Is crypto really a revolution? Welcome to Coinage. I'm Zach Guzman. This week, we're talking about revolution and revolutionaries. Oh yeah, and moderates too. Sorry, moderates, the revolutionaries are just so flashy. If you're watching, you've probably heard that crypto is in crisis. And if you're not watching, you've probably heard that too. Yes, the collapse of FTX shook crypto to its core and caused the haters to point and laugh and dance on its grave. Look, your golden boy's disgraced, they say. How can anyone still take this industry seriously, they say. Crypto is dead, and for good this time. Except we all know that it isn't. And crypto's true revolutionaries were never fans of FTX's founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, in the first place. Because SBF thought that crypto could be integrated into our current financial system, that it can bring positive change to the industry in a limited, stepwise manner, that it has the potential to be a freer and fairer system, just that there should be some protections and controls. But the revolutionaries think that completely defeats the point. If there are some controls and some permissions in crypto, then what's stopping us from having all the controls and all the permissions we already have now? It's a fair point, and it begs the question, can crypto be anything unless it's everything? The fallout from FTX's collapse is still ongoing, and it will undoubtedly prove to be one of the most significant events in crypto's short history. But even before Sam Bankman-Fried's empire imploded in November, SBF found himself at the center of a different conflict, one that's been brewing within crypto for years, whether crypto should replace our current financial system or be integrated within it. And lots of people within crypto don't like where SBF lands on this.
Well, these devils, Sam Bankman-Fried, Brian Armstrong, they're trying to permanently ruin it.
But other people like him anyway.
Sam Bankman-Fried, everything this man touches turns to gold.
So what is his position? SBF, founder of what was the world's second largest crypto exchange, sought to integrate crypto into the current system while still preserving some of crypto's benefits, like the free and easy transfer of money compared to our current system. But purists like Erik Voorhees, one of crypto's most influential thought leaders and founder of the decentralized exchange Shapeshift, think crypto should replace the current system. The current system cannot be reformed and must be overthrown. SBF fashioned himself as one of crypto's main representatives to politicians. He can frequently be found on Capitol Hill, and he was one of the biggest donors to Democrats and Republicans alike, hoping to get their ear on matters pertaining to crypto. So when SBF revealed in a blog post in October that he thought some parts of decentralized finance, or DeFi, should be regulated, shit hit the fan. Purists like Voorhees detest that approach. They saw his proposals as tantamount to selling out crypto's soul, and they're willing to fight tooth and nail to keep crypto permissionless. So what do you do when two modern-day crypto gladiators have beef? You settle it in the ring.
You argued so well and so passionately to not block email with licensing and KYC. I loved hearing that.
Yep.
That filled my soul with joy. Such good arguments. Why does that not apply to financial transactions?
So,
It may not feel important now, since SBF's fall from grace leaves him with few friends or defenders in crypto and in government, but the debate isn't over, even if the moderate's biggest champion is. And we're going to talk to Voorhees later on in the show to get at the heart of his views. But before we do, how do we get here? Because crypto has real ideals, powerful, revolutionary ideals. Money has long been concentrated in the hands of a few, and the control of our financial system is dictated by even fewer. Crypto, at its core, seeks to decentralize that power and give it to the masses, separating money and state in the same way church and state were once split. In fact, it wasn't so long ago that the government and gatekeepers faced the same question around information in the internet age and the speech it enabled online.
If we were having this discussion 25 years ago when the web was being created, and we were taking these same positions, and you were asking me if any part of the web stack that lets someone log onto a web browser and access something as powerful as the entire tome of human knowledge like Wikipedia, if any part of that required a license, would we have lost the battle? Yes.
But is freedom of speech the same thing as freedom of money? It seems cut and dry. Take the example of OFAC, the Office of Foreign Assets Control, the government agency in charge of maintaining the sanctions list that makes it illegal to send and receive money from certain entities. The list is meant to prevent Americans from funding any number of unsavory individuals. Terrorist groups, North Korean hackers, Russian oligarchs, Kanye, you name it. SBF conceded that crypto transactions would likely have to comply with that list, which seems fine. But OFAC also prevents most Americans from sending money to Iran altogether, even, say, to support the brave protesters fighting against the morality police. Crypto transactions can let an individual bypass OFAC restrictions far more easily than by interacting with a bank, which might seem good for cash-strapped terrorists. But not everyone may agree with who makes it on the list. After all, it's curated by one of those large centralized institutions crypto is always railing against, the US government. But we still don't want people to send money to terrorists, right? So then we're left with the need for some kind of outside enforcement, which might be a tricky ask if crypto is successful in its revolution. So look, having a movement with no gatekeepers is powerful. It means no one gets left behind. But it also means no one can disavow bad actors. Anyone can claim crypto as a mantle, for better and for worse. Just look at reality. Along the way in crypto, opportunists have found other ways to tout it to their own personal benefit. Pump and dump schemes, shady ICOs, NFT rug pulls, Web3 ventures utilizing Ponzi-nomics, and the list goes on. How many crypto users are revolutionaries, and how many are just looking to make a quick buck?
Big shout out to the NFT project, Bad Bro Mado. Shout out to them, man. BroMado.nft.com.
Our guest this week, Erik Voorhees, is one of the true revolutionaries. Voorhees has been in crypto longer than most, and he's in it for the long haul. The recent crashes have shaken the confidence of many, but not Voorhees. He's content to keep working on crypto, mostly in the decentralized finance field, until it's ready to completely overthrow the mainstream financial system run by big governments we have today. But many influential figures in crypto merely pay lip service to that goal, or shirk it completely. Success in crypto instead is measured by mass adoption. Sure, but it's also measured in Lambos, meaning how many Lamborghinis you can afford with your winnings. Crypto investors are waiting for their coins to reach the moon, but can forget about everyone on Earth in the process. So maybe some people are just interested in crypto as a new asset class or a new vehicle for speculation, or an ongoing experiment in greater fool theory, which states that overpaying for something is fine as long as there's a greater fool than you willing to overpay even more down the road. Is that so bad?
You want to buy some death sticks?
What would a total revolution in crypto really look like to a purist? Well, first of all, no cash. Cash is fiat currency backed and supported by a government. So I suppose that means no more cash-only stores, no more coin-operated vending machines, and no more tipping by throwing a few singles in a bowl. The over 350,000 bank tellers in the US would be out of a job, I suppose, along with everyone else who helps to keep the banks running. If someone steals your seed phrase and accesses your funds, there's no one you can try to call to reverse that transaction, so there's no need to pay someone to monitor the phones. Credit cards will be replaced through autonomous smart contracts. If you're late on a repayment, your collateral will automatically be liquidated, or maybe your failure will forever be inscribed on your wallet with a permanent or soul-bound token. Which brings us to code is law. In crypto, the tenet code is law means that any poorly designed protocol that's vulnerable to hacks or market manipulation puts everyone's finances at risk, with no safety nets, like FDIC insurance, which protects up to $250,000 in nearly every bank account in the US. All this is to eliminate the power of central banks, run by central governments, over the supply of money. Is that all worth the trade-off of no longer having to worry about a few percentage points of inflation every few years? Some, like Voorhees, argue that it is. It puts you in control of your money. A scary amount of control.
I don't know what any of this shit is, and I'm fucking scared.
But do you really want that much control? Humans are fallible, and code is not. That's the idea. But the code is, and I cannot stress this enough, written by humans. And it's virtually impossible to write perfect code all the time. If you don't believe me, just stop updating your iPhone and see what happens. If there's a flaw in one of the smart contracts that you've used to replace a bank in certain situations, maybe it's the crypto version of a credit card or a mortgage, and all your money gets drained, you could respond in a purely rational way. You could say, oh well, it was a bad project, but the free market means a competitor's going to step in and take its place that's safer and much more secure. And while that's perfectly rational, it's also crazy. No one thinks like that in reality. You want to be able to call someone up and say, that transaction was fraudulent. Please give me my money back. In crypto, though, there's no one to call.
Immediately, they stole 19 grand. Happily, I just started this wallet, but they already stole 19,000 out of it. Need fucking help immediately.
Understandably, amidst the collapse of FTX, this discussion has gotten drowned out by the drama. But we think it's an important discussion to have. Is there a way to integrate crypto with the current system without compromising its ideals? That's what we're trying here at Coinage, to pioneer a cooperative model for media run by crypto, but compliant to all the laws of the land. And we think that the law should make it easy and clear for all the good parts of crypto to thrive. Betting on shitcoins all day isn't going to bring about the future, after all. Building new tech, joining decentralized organizations, and debating these tenets of crypto is how we're really going to make progress. Those things should all be easy, and trust me, they're not. Just ask our lawyers, who have spent hundreds of hours walking us through the legal and compliant way to structure our cooperative. You have to learn the rules before you can break them, or at least shape them to your goals. So joining us now is crypto philosopher and founder of Shapeshift, Erik Voorhees. How's it going, man?
Going well. Hi, Zach.
It's tough to think about all the titles for you, but I feel like right now a lot of people in the industry and larger know you as the man who debated SBF about the soul of crypto, what crypto is all about, where the industry should head.
Yeah, well, I thought the debate was going to be kind of monumental because it was a demonstration of two very different worldviews when it comes to proper governance over the crypto ecosystem. I did not know, of course, that he was running like a $10 billion fraud, and that soon after our debate, all of it would fall apart and the craziest crypto calamity of all time would unfold. So it's been a little surreal, I have to say. I feel like it was helpful for people to see the person who was on camera calling for regulations and who was generally supportive of, top-down governmental surveillance and control of an industry, for that person to be revealed as like the greatest fraud in our ecosystem, was certainly helpful to my case, and hopefully will make people question this narrative that, the Wild West cowboys in crypto are the bad guys, and the people who are buddy-buddy in Washington, D.C. with regulators are the good guys. That's so obviously not true, and this was a profound example of that.
I mean, what to you was kind of the big takeaway, the lesson that you saw a lot of people learn, not with just the FTX collapse, but with BlockFi, all the other centralized institutions that have fallen in 2022?
Well, the wrong lesson, which some people have learned, is that crypto can't be trusted. It's nothing but scams and danger. The correct lesson is self-custody is so important. And if you don't understand what self-custody means, or you don't understand why that's different from a normal custodial relationship, you have missed the point of cryptocurrency entirely.
We focused on self-custody in an earlier episode on Coinage earlier this year with Caitlin Long, and I feel like self-custody is pretty important. But what is the takeaway in your eyes around regulation and whether or not it's needed in the crypto industry to protect users?
First of all, people should not be protected if they don't want protection, right? So forcing protection on a adult human, if they don't want it, is unethical, period. If that person doesn't want your protection, you have no right to force it upon them. Does crypto need regulation? I mean, the correct answer to this is that it is regulated by math and code, which are really far better arbiters of outcomes than people are.
But I guess if code is law, when it's broken, who steps in to make sure people follow the laws?
Well, no one steps in to enforce the code. The code enforces itself. And when it breaks, it's because the code wasn't written correctly and should be written better. We want honesty in finance. We want transparency in finance. We want objectivity in finance. And so if we want those things, we should recognize that the code of DeFi actually provides it. Whereas the traditional world of man-made rules leads to the status quo financial system of the banking world. I don't think anyone looks at the banking world as a pinnacle of just finance, right? And yet it is maybe the most heavily regulated industry in the world. So if human rules are so imperfect as to lead to that, maybe we should permit open code to try something else.
I guess that's the point too, right? Like from around a libertarian point of view or whatever you want to call it, around a crypto point of view, really, is that you leave people to their own devices to make their own decisions. And no one has better information than they do to make these decisions, rather than a regulator, rather than the nanny state kind of controlling some of this stuff.
Well, other people may have better information, but they don't have a right to force you to do things with your own assets. That's the difference. Even if you know something more than another person, you don't have a right to tell them what they may or may not do with their own money. And I think that kind of paternalistic attitude is rampant in the United States and has really robbed people of that sense of personal responsibility. And several generations have grown up feeling like other entities and other institutions will take care of them. And they've just become complete sheep. They do not care about money itself, which is what they spend their entire lives chasing. And they've just become docile and always looking to some higher power to save and protect them. It's very dangerous, and I think it's anti-human.
And I think the sheep analogy there is important, because you can look at the '08 financial crisis and probably directly compare it to what's going on with the failure of centralized lenders in crypto in 2022. And as you see it, how do you look at the fairness of both rescue attempts?
So in crypto, when firms make bad decisions, they tend to get wiped out. FTX is gone. Mt. Gox is gone. All the exchanges that didn't have good security practices are gone. That's good. That's called capitalism, right? Like people that fail to manage resources correctly tend to lose resources over time. That is a healthy market, even though the collapses themselves are painful for the people experiencing them. Compare that with a non-healthy market in which the institutions and companies that make mistakes not just don't go away, but are actually supported, bolstered, bailed out by taxpayers. And all those bad players, most of them, 9 out of 10 of the bad players from the financial crisis are not only still here, but they're bigger. They got bigger, like they got rewarded. So you iterate through these two worlds, one in which bad actors get supported by taxpayers and grow, and one in which bad actors tend to get weeded out and go away, and carry that through for a generation. And which system do you think is going to have a healthier foundation?
I guess from a macro level...
It doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand that.
No, it doesn't. From a macro level, it's clear which one's better in terms of a moral hazard. On a micro level, when you think about the individuals, and there are a lot who put way more money than I think they thought they could ever lose into FTX or any centralized lender here, and they go from 100% to zero, basically. So on a micro level, I mean, is it any different when you look at it case by case?
The only reason it's not zero in the case of the financial crisis is because money was stolen from hundreds of millions of people to subsidize those who lost it. It's not like any wealth was actually created through that. It's just that money was taken from one person and given to another. So does the person who is receiving the money feel better? Of course. But you're not taking a proper calculation of all the damage and loss that you took from all the people who weren't making bad mistakes.
On the whole.
And that's the big difference.
That's the question, I guess, that I still have is, right, like how radical is it? Is crypto a revolution in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the goal of this is to remove the power over money from the state, right? The separation of money and state. And it's important for the very same reason that religion and state were separated, church and state. These are areas of human experience which are incredibly important and fundamental to human thriving, and which should not be centrally controlled and centrally managed. For the same reason a market economy should not be centrally controlled or managed. In the future, I think when people look back and see this time period as when money and state were separated, they will rejoice from that in the same way that people are generally glad that church and state were separated hundreds of years ago.
On that point around some of those things, you've talked about email and the way that was kind of built up. It was kind of the checkmate point, I think, in the SBF debate around permissionless email and where you draw the distinction there about what the internet would look like if you caved on some of those contentions, right? Why is that such an important point around permissionless messages and freedom of speech being sent in terms of how it's implemented in the internet and finance now with crypto?
There is a great societal hypocrisy in that most people approve of free speech. Well, maybe fewer and fewer these days, but some of us still do. People understand why free speech is important, and they would be somewhat horrified if, let's say, every email they wrote to someone else had to go through like some government agency to be proofread. I think that would scare the hell out of most people. And yet people in the same breath will talk about how your expression with money should actually be overseen and controlled by these same people. Why is it that people should have no privacy or sovereignty when it comes to money, but they should when it comes to speech? I have never heard a good argument for that.
And that, I think, is the important piece to dig into, is in terms of why you think it's so important. And you've used the positive example, that I think was a good one, around OFAC and the idea that Americans are kind of prohibited from, I guess, sending money to positive causes.
Yes. For the audience for the audience who probably doesn't know the nuances of this rule, it is OFAC stands for the Office of Foreign Assets Control, and this is a branch of the U.S. Treasury that makes it illegal for any American to do business with anyone on the sanctions list. At the surface, most people will be like, well, I don't understand why that's such a big deal. If you're on the sanctions list, you're probably a bad person. That list includes the entire nation of Iran with 80 million people. So it is illegal for you as an American to send money to one of these brave women that is protesting the horrible treatment that's going on in Iran. I think that's absurdly unethical, that if I actually donated money to some of these women, I would be committing a felony.
What is the end picture for the movement?
I think the end picture is one in which value, capital, moves around the world with less friction. And on average, because the average person is a good person and the average person is not committing crimes, if you allow capital to move around the world more freely with less friction, you will actually enrich the entire material prosperity of the planet. When you constrict the flow of capital, you are slowing down how the entire world operates, and you are impoverishing the world relative to where it would have been otherwise. So is that ethical? Is it ethical to impoverish the world by some margin in order to make law enforcement a little easier? If you're violating the rights of people who aren't criminals to make your law enforcement job easier, you are actually becoming the criminal.
If you think about the broader impacts for the country, what are the implications there when you think about crypto's rise, and if it's directly tied to maybe a fall of the dollar, maybe a fall of America's standing as someone who's trying to push some of the democratic ideals around the world?
I think crypto equalizes economic interaction between human beings. So in that regard, if any territory or group of people have special privileges because of gates or controls that they have on the flows of funds around the world, those things will be reduced, right? So those who have power from the control of money will lose power in a world where cryptocurrency takes over. Who among us is sad to hear that the powerful people who gained that power through controlling the flows of money will lose that power? I don't know if many people would be too bothered by that. I think all humans on Earth should have access to an open, immutable financial system, which does not depend on the jurisdiction in which they're born. That makes me a radical, which is weird, right? That I feel like that just makes me a good human. And hopefully more people will come around to that view over time.
Erik Voorhees, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, they were great questions. This was a really good discussion, and thank you for diving into like the important stuff. Many people don't.
Look, if there's one thing Coinage wants to cover, it's the important stuff. But important stuff ain't easy, and fitting new pioneering technology into old frameworks isn't any easier. And we're not just saying that as a user of crypto, but as the host of this show. Our goal in building a community-owned show was to do just that, give our viewers the ability to weigh in on what we should cover, and the ability to literally own Coinage with us. That way, we can all make the show better together and all reap the rewards when there are dividends to be had. As any crypto project knows, that can be trickier than it sounds. Sure, you can issue NFTs, register as an entity offshore, and wing it, but what good is a revolution if it doesn't impact the system you're already living in? Coinage is proud to say we've set up shop here in the US with a legally registered cooperative, and we're dropping our NFTs as your digital membership pass into our cooperative. If you've supported us this year by watching our content with our free subscriber pass, thank you. For doing that, you're already invited to mint your ticket in for just 0.1 ETH right now. If you're just hearing about us and want to get involved in helping us build this show and the future of media, you can kick off the new year by minting in January. But there are only 9,000 spots available, so hit up coinage.media to stay up to date. We're looking forward to building Season 2 with you and the rest of our NFT holders. I'm Zach Guzman. This was Coinage. Stay safe out there.